Hey everybody, welcome to another recap of Bachelor Pad. So, last week, Gia and the Weatherman got sent home. Dave was pissed because it shouldn't have been a tie. He didn't want to have to put the final nail in Gia's coffin. So he's pissed at Wes. And Wes was pissed at Dave, and they started to get into it. Wes just wants everybody to keep it real and not be blowing smoke up asses. And Dave calls Wes a jackass. So Wes is angry and he wants to fight. But Dave is saved by the doorbell. At the door is a box full of surveys that everyone must complete alone. And they must keep their answers confidential. Tenley doesn't like it. Is she like 4 years old or what? She cries when the wind changes direction. Did Wes bring an underwear swimsuit, or was that just his underwear? I'm just saying. Alright, so it's time for the competition. And if you just tell the truth, you should win, because it's old majority rules. You have to answer correctly each question to get a point. And the first person who gets 4 points wins either for the girls or the guys. So, first question, who's going to win the whole shebang? Everybody said Kiptyn. Who is the biggest enemy in the house? Chrysalie. I love to hear Wes say Chrysalie because he says like Chrysalie or something. Chrysalie. Chrysalie. Love that southern accent. Alright, so who is the most shallow in the house? Ouch, it was Elizabeth. And in her little away interview, she was like, I don't even know what shallow means. Well, it doesn't make it suck any less. So, who is the dumbest? I was for sure it was going to be Elizabeth, but it turned out to be Gwen, even though everyone said Natalie. I think that was fixed. Alright, so Tenley ends up winning for the ladies. I guess she got the first 4 right. That's really weird. Alright, next question. The ladies aren't playing anymore. This is just for the guys. Who do you secretly have a crush on? Dave. Who will be a bridesmaid, never a bride? Well, that was Natalie. And even Dave, her relation in the house, said that. So it was very hurtful because, like most women, she has a fear of growing old, alone, and dying in her house and being half-eaten by her cats before anyone even realizes that she's dead. Ouch. Who's the biggest jerk in the house? I was pretty sure it was going to be Dave, but the answer was Wes. I guess after that last argument, although Wes is so special, I guess he had me fooled too. He's like a modern day Shakespeare. Alright, well, he's also the biggest jerk. So for the guys, it came down to a tie between Jesse B and Kovacs. So now the tiebreaker. Who has the worst boob job? Who wrote these questions? They're great. Alright, so the answer just happens to be Elizabeth. And Kovacs knew that it was going to be Elizabeth. So he totally blew the competition and didn't get the rose in order to spare Elizabeth's feelings. What an idiot. Okay, so after the challenge, the ladies were hysterical crying. Especially Natalie and Elizabeth, because, you know, she doesn't want to die alone, and Elizabeth, she had 2 bad answers there. So, Kovacs, in his caveman way, tried to console her by saying, oh, Elizabeth, people don't really think that you have the worst boob job. They just had to put down an answer, and they just put you down. Great. So, it's time for Tenley's date. She chooses Kiptyn. He's too pretty to be straight. Just saying. They take a helicopter ride to ziplining, and it was so bonding. It was such a bonding experience because, like, it's dangerous. Like, no way you could fall out of that thing, but whatever. So when they made out, she was all like, you made my heart beat fast. Who would like her besides a pedophile? It's seriously like dating a 4-year-old. So they have dinner on Catalina Island, and no, it was not the effing Catalina wine mixer. Cue the deer. Did everybody notice that? She's worried he won't accept the rose. Are you kidding? He wants to stay in the game. He wants a guarantee. Of course he's going to accept the rose. And while he was at it, he even accepted the fantasy suite card. And they went right for the bed. So it's time for Jesse B's date. And he chose Peyton because they had a little connection last week. So they go in a biplane for a little ride, and I'm telling you right now, there is no way in hell they would get me in a plane with a wooden propeller. I don't care whose plane it is. Everyone back at the house is wondering if these two idiots are going to hook up. And then they were all like, define hook up. Do you mean like sex, or do you mean like make out sesh, or who cares? You people are way too preoccupied with sex. So they have dinner in an airplane hangar. Why do they always cheap out on the guy dates? This was like really bleh. I mean, they hung up some sheet on the wall and they fluffed it out a little bit. Like, this is supposed to be special. Apparently he's got a premature problem because he gave her the rose almost immediately. Doesn't he know that you should build up to these things? And he is so classy. He was burping in her face and he was trying to pick her nose. He was mixing his wine with his vodka. He's disgusting. She actually denied him the fantasy suite card. And he was like, oh, really? Ouch. That really hurts. And then they had to go home and tell everybody, yo, we didn't go to the fantasy suite. Pew. All right, so Chrysalie, sensing that she's going home this week, tries to make an alliance with Dave. Now, Dave told her, yeah, I think you're going to be safe this week. Just vote how I tell you to vote. So now it's time to vote. And for the next half an hour, they drag it out and have everyone vote. Everybody's got to go in there and look at this stupid picture, pick it up, do this, do that. Just vote. You know what would be really cool, ABC? If you just voted. All right, so for the ladies, the final two, the bottom two, were Gwen and Chrysalie. And Chrysalie is out. She's freaking angry as hell. She got hoodwinked by Dave, and she calls out Dave. She blames him. She's like, I wouldn't, if I'd known that I wasn't going to be safe, whatever, I wouldn't have voted the way I did. Thanks a lot, Dave, you liar. And she ends up calling out Kovacs, Elizabeth, Kiptyn, and Tenley, and is like, yo, final four. All right, so for the guys, it came down to Kovacs and Wes. Wes is out, and he kept it classy. He was just like, I had a blast. Thanks, guys. See you next time. So next time, speaking of that, 3 ladies go home. Gee, I wonder who those could be. Probably the ones that they never ever talk about. All right, kids. Till next week. Much love.